Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. My name is Martha Ernest, and I serve as the current president of the executive committee of the student body. So we're currently in the executive committee space. So this is where we have all of our meetings and all of our hearings as well. So that's kind of all done in this space, which was recently moved. And so we're really excited and thankful to Mr. Phillips for this beautiful gift. By Mr. Chamberlain called Reflections on Honor. And so I just wanted to welcome you all back to campus, first of all, and then also give a little introduction about Mr. Phillips. So he graduated from Washington and Lee in 1970 with a degree in physics and engineering, and then went on to Georgetown Law to study law and worked for the EPA, and also married his wife Dottie of 44 years.
48.
Oh, 48. So we are extremely thankful for y'all and kind of for your gift for the honor system. So in this room we have a lot of discussions about honor, about student self-governance. And so it's been really interesting to have these pieces here because they really allow us to reflect and think about our honor system, and these conversations will be continued to be had for the rest of the time here, and so we're really excited and really thankful for this opportunity and for this gift. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to first of all acknowledge that the donation is from the WNL chapter of Delta Upsilon, which went off campus 50 years ago. So here's Forrest and Calvary members of DU that came for this weekend and this presentation. So I want to thank them and acknowledge that these are my brothers, and it's really good to see them. Okay. This David and I knew each other in high school, and then David went on to Princeton, and then after graduation, he got a master's of fine arts at Penn, and then he did two very courageous things. First of all, he came up with his own approach or method of doing art collaboratively with another artist, so that each had equal voice and worked together to produce fine art. And his artwork is in 42 museums, local, state, federal, including Washington Museum of Fine Arts, British Museum, and then last year, Phillips Gallery accepted a sculpture that was very well received, and acquired a sculpture. And so his art, he's in many colleges. His art is in many colleges, including Princeton and Yale and Williams, among other fine schools. But his collaborative approach, he used first to go to Vietnam and work with an artist there. This was after the Vietnam War, and this was a way of working with someone that had a different perspective and another interest than we do typically. And so he was able, part of the process was to work with people that we needed to work with to build community in the United States better. And so that was the first collaboration, was with the Vietnamese artist. The second one was with an African artist in South Africa, because race was, of course, an important issue in the United States and still is. But this was a way of getting each side to work together and having evidence of that through art. David has done others, other projects, well, one with Japan, and of course, there's still animosity, some because of after World War II, but this was a way of bringing the cultures together and the peoples together through art. So I I asked David to do another project on the Trinity, and he did. He did 3 paintings on the Trinity, and we're going to present those to different museums. But our son liked those so much, he asked for us to give them to them. So David brought the paintings to Boston anyway. So David was not afraid to take on difficult, I mean, most of us would say impossible tasks of putting those difficult concepts into form of art. And he, after that project, I asked if he would do one on WL's honor system. The essence, maybe perhaps the most important aspect of what makes Washington Lee unique among colleges. And he agreed to that and produced these paintings, which he will now explain for us, since most of us need help understanding contemporary art, including especially.
Well, thank you, Bill. And thank all of you for we'll go way back. So we'll be here for several hours if you have questions about what it was like growing up together with it, knowing too much about each other.
This is a small high school graduation class with 75 people. Small town, anyway. Town of 700. Yeah, town of 700. Anyway, that's
It's 721 now, I'm told. So it's moving up in the world. I'm glad to be here. It's my first time. So I'd like to thank all of you UD guys and everybody here. It means a lot to me because, I'm going to tear up too. The honor system was one of the things I loved the most about Princeton. And it meant a lot to me because we grew up in a small town where, your word was your word. And not the rest of the world was like that, So I used to love gloating in the joy of trusting everybody I knew in college with, my life, my education, my feelings, my mistakes. And there was that time in every freshman first semester when you went in to take your exams. It was the first time in your life it was unproctored. You wouldn't change information, steal any information, borrow it, you would report, and then you were home free after that. So about halfway through the exam, your roommate would show up and pour you a beer, and that sort of thing. And I thought that's, this is a good thing. This is ultimate trust here, sharing. So anyway, I don't know if you guys did that, but it was one of the memories I have. Not at all. Yeah. But the art world is interesting because you can't really fool yourself. It's there's no place to hide. It's like the honor system. You have to look at yourself in the mirror every day. And I love Dr. Pella singing because you couldn't really rely on any gimmickry. You couldn't rely on the sound system or even somebody to keep you on pitch. You were just out there trying to sing, and sometimes it worked better than other times. But no matter what, you were out there, and you had to answer for yourself. And it's often said in the art world that we are our own worst critics. And if you can satisfy yourself, then you've made some progress. And I am very hard to please, as Janet knows. When we go to museums, I say, oh no, move that over an inch, and a little more blue over here. I'm sure it's, drives you crazy. But the same thing was true in the development of these paintings in the studio, because it's so hard to make it look easy. It's so hard to have it all gel and cohere into a composition that's integrated and is honest. So what I like about painting is that whoever you are comes out in the work, especially abstract work. And again, there's no place to hide. And I thought long and hard about Bill's challenge for the honor system, the honor code. And how would you ever capture something that abstract? But then I realized, well, all the good stuff is abstract. Music is not even tangible. So people say, how can you use music as an inspiration? Well, it's only existing in our heads and in our minds and eyes and ears. And so, that made sense to me. So I just tried to reverse the process. So I'm hoping that the thought that went into expressing the feeling for the honor system and the shared code would, come back out when people walk in. Even if somebody, say a 12-year-old child walks in and looks at this for the first time, I'm hoping that it's like piano players. Did you ever notice when anybody who's played a piano walks by a piano, they always have to, they can always just imagine that, so it's so tactile and so embraceable and so compelling. So I'm hoping that this is that way, that all of you who are students, maybe more, in your position than students who are in here being, talked about, would feel that there's an elegance in the way the composition tries to resolve itself, sometimes more successful than others, but the line changes. The thickness and the depth and the density. This is made by my fingers. These are works of oil paint on paper with no brushes. So one of the trademarks of my work is I sculpt the paint. Again, not relying on any artificial means. This is whatever you are. If I trim my fingernails, it makes a different painting. So these are the instruments. You have to kind of keep them in tune. If I bite my fingernails, I have to wait a week to paint. But anyway, so when you see what's going on in here, I hope that even if it's somebody from another country, another world maybe, upside down, right side up, if you go on my painting website, these paintings are featured as among the most recent paintings. And there's an exercise. You go through and you squint until they're just black and white. You flip them upside down, you flip them mirror image and reverse. And you keep looking at it and looking at it in different ways until when you turn all the lights on again, you see it in its completion. It's the way it really is. And so the same thing happens here. Variation on the theme, but it's much richer here. You can almost sense that this is a more delicious line than that one was. That was the teaser. This ended to the lower right in our society. We read from left to right. When I go to Japan, I have to make everything end up down here. Used to be, anyway. And the mirror up here reflects, what I'm seeing is the ceiling, which could be metaphoric. And down here, I see terra firma and, down to earth stuff. So you've got what's up there and you've got what's down there. And that's all reflected. But it's, again, you have to work for it. But you can't help but notice as you move along. And as you move along, you're maybe in your senior or junior years here, and you get to a point where when it does resolve, when all these lines continue, as you can see, they're integrating as one painting. There's always the eye level question, which I asked Martha, you guys. So how did you decide exactly where eye level was? Because this was a consideration. I thought, what if the basketball team comes in here? They're not going to. They'll hurt themselves. But again, if a 12-year-old comes in, they may have to stand on their toes to see themselves, which is another metaphor. So anyway, you see yourself in the eye. You're looking yourself in the eye when you finally get to the core of the resolution of the composition. So that's kind of what's behind it. And I'm happy to take questions. I thought long and hard about the signature, but this is much bigger than any individual. For museum people, the signature, the little the official initials, do appear on each one to authenticate the painting. And on the back, there's all the authentication. But in this case, it's up to the viewer. Only you can decide if you get from here to there. And then when you do, you sign on the X, which may sound familiar. So it was a risk because I don't know if it's even legal to sign your name with an X anymore. But it's not for me. It's not my name.
As long as you have a witness, it's okay.
Is that it? The law school? Well, so anyway, in a nutshell, that's kind of what happened over about a 3-month period of, as Janet knows, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of attempts. And what about this? Putting that together with that, and well, no, 1 is not enough, and 3 is too many. All those things that made it a delicious, really enjoyable, stimulating challenge to me. So I'm glad you're here. I can't think of any better place. I really thank Bill for coming up with the idea that kept me awake at night for 3 months, because that's part of it too. So are there questions about the concept, the technique?
Would you call this monochrome work, or is it a certain color? What made you decide to go with this particular?
Well, you can't imagine why I chose blue and white. So, but that's a tough combination. But I wanted to have it resonate with Washington and Lee. And also, I'm pretty tired of orange and black. So it's funny because Princeton has the honor code, but you guys had it first.
No orange.
No orange. Well, all of my colleges were orange. Our high school color was orange.
Just so everyone knows, this morning David asked for Washington Lee hat, so I got a Washington Lee hat. So now he has a Washington Lee hat to wear. He has a blue and white.
I know why you chose blue, but are those blue trees or what do they represent?
I'm going to refer to Martha, who knows the story about the looming presence.
Lucy knows the story.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lucy Fisher. I'm the third-year law student on the executive committee, and
Come on up.
he was kind enough to send us an email with just kind of his initial thoughts, and we named it Reflections on Honor. And we had that discussion right in this very room. Harris knows it. The ghostly figures of Washington and Lee are what the two on the hill, and I think that you were referring to the hill. I don't know. I didn't know that you hadn't been here yet, but were you referring to our hill?
Well, I had some help along the way.
Okay, a little help, but basically just the two figures themselves standing on that.
Well, and it could be an imprint. It could be footprints you're following. This could be not as far away. They're kind of in the background, but they're keeping an eye on you. They're pretty intense over here. This looming presence of entities.
Where the background was.
Yeah. And there's 4 years. 4 years of looming,
4 years.
founders.
The mirroring helped us with the reflections on honor as well. We were all standing straight, so it was kind of reflecting on yourself.
So it should be internalized.
I'm David's partner, Janet, and having lived through this with David, one of the fun things about it is that he is an abstract artist. So ideas for paintings just come out of his head, And when he gets challenged, like with the Trinity, Bill threw out the Trinity. Can you do something that represents the Trinity? I thought that was tough. So when Bill said, I'd like to do something on the honor code, I'm like, how do you do that? How do you represent that in an abstract way that then people can relate to it? Because it's like you said, you look at these things and you ask the question, it might mean, if you stand here and look at this and you see the title, it may mean something different to you than it does to others, right? If you have to have, if you look at it and you say, okay, this is an abstract representation. So what David had to struggle with is how to get those ideas and understand the concepts that Bill actually helped with and get it put on paper so it could be relatable.
Yeah, there's some suggestion here. This could be something elusive like the moon behind the clouds, illumination. This could be coins. You know, are we seduced by the pull of money and filthy lucre? You know, all that. And, you know, does this kind of give a suggestion of the human eye or vision and, you know, that sort of thing? So, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there. I hope that you'll never get tired of it, that this is the kind of thing
Yeah,
that,
make it up. I mean, really, it's whatever your idea of what that would be. And it came out lovely.
we had lots of conversations about this en route.
One other thing I'd like to mention, I'd like to thank Nancy and Isra for their support and help on this project, and the executive committee members who helped on this. You guys probably helped too back there.
How many are there in the executive committee? 5, 6?
There are 13 total members.
Really?
But a few of us came today. So actually it was kind of the last executive committee that had this discussion. So Lucy, Harris, and I were on it when James Torbert, who was the last president of the executive committee, when he kind of brought up this idea. And we all were thinking about it. And once we got the photos of the piece, we had the opportunity to have a lengthy discussion about what it should be titled, because as you know, getting 13 people in a room to agree on something can be a little difficult.
That's why they have 13, not 12.
Yes, sir. But I feel like that's kind of representative also of this piece, just having these discussions about what it means, and also, you know, putting the abstractness of the honor system into words can be really difficult as well. But obviously you did it beautifully with putting it into a piece of art.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Is this on like a tour, or could other people, if they were visiting the campus, be informed that this was here, or is this kind of a closed off space? Like you couldn't,
That's a good question.
you couldn't just come up and visit. It's a sort of think about the exposure limitations. It's just for this room.
I think as of right now, from my understanding, tours do not typically go in this room, but you know, I have had people reach out to me before about asking to see what the EC space looks like. But that could definitely be a conversation with university ambassadors about, you know, exposure to this and things like that.
And we have all of our student government meetings in here as well. So students come in, the leaders of all the organizations. We have all of our business meetings in here that are open to the public. So there's a ton of exposure to this room in general.
But it'll also be, it's part of our permanent collection, the museum. So these will be scanned and available in our database. I do, especially after hearing the story today, because this, I think, requires a bit more attention, potentially work with communications and maybe put out in columns to show that we have this object in the collection and folks can take a closer look.
And I will say too, I think alums, because of the current environment we're in, are very concerned about the honor system at W&L.
Ethics.
And this is a great way, you know, to share. This gathering, you know, is something that columns, Isra, I think that's great, because I think alums, because things are changing so much. And Martha, I remember I asked Martha about it. I was like, is the honor system going to change? And she's had the board of trustees ask her how things are going and it's not. I mean, it's definitely strong, and this only accents that.
Maybe the trustees could see these.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sitting here, and if you don't mind, I'd like to reflect, particularly for the benefit of the students, about honor codes, because it's part of your culture, and it's been part of your culture, I believe, since the inception of the institution. I've worked in higher education for 40 years, and I went to an undergraduate institution that had an honor code, and I was stunned. It wasn't a universal phenomenon. It is not. And it is incredibly difficult to try and institute. My last institution I worked at for 30 years, and every year I would bring it up, and we're not even close to thinking about it. So this certainly highlights what a proud tradition here at Washington and Lee, and how important honor systems are, and honor codes, and how they are to be revered, and again, hopefully always be part of your landscape, because it's the way around.
I will add one thing from my reading that I did a little research on honor codes before this, and Washington and Lee was the first college in the country to evict a student with no chance of reentry for an honor code violation in 1850. First in the country.
Well, and so Washington and Lee had the code before Princeton did, I think several years, right? But there was that back and forth with the concept. So maybe I have work at Oxford and Cambridge, for example. They're much older, but maybe someday they'll have the honor code.
Well, thank you all so much. I'm truly grateful for this remarkable gift. And absolutely.
Maybe I'll introduce. This is Mike Howe, Bob Root, Dick Graham, John Lawrence. Boyle.
Now they're a quartet, aren't they? Don't you guys sing together with?
Boyle alums and thieves.
Well, we certainly need to get a photo. But I think this right here, having this now be part of our permanent collection, this remarkable piece, and thank you for the explanation, layered meaning, I think a lot of opportunity for meditation and reflection with the group. So this is incredible. Thank you so much. This underscores our mission and our vision to inspire a community that loves art, history, and culture. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Certainly appreciate